Welcome back to JB Squared. I'm JB Hager, joined by Johan Bruneel. We're deep in this 2023 Tour de France, stage 18. We're going to talk about what went down today. Miraculous breakaway that no one would have thought would stay. And we'll have Johan break that down and tell us what's going on and the players involved, which is why it was able to stick. We'll get into that. And you Jonas fans, we're going to clear the air a little bit. We got you guys a little upset yesterday, but we'll tackle all that and more on this episode of JB Squared. Johan, we're going to start out talking about something from yesterday, which we rarely do. Mm-hmm. But we got people a little upset because we spent a lot, and it wasn't intentional. We just spent a lot of time talking about Tadej Pogačar and his season and maybe leadership and direction of how his season should unfold. And then, and of course, addressing his broken wrist and what the expectations were and expectations from sponsors. But the way a lot of our audience took it that are big Jonas Vingegaard fans is that we weren't giving him the credit he deserves for the amazing ride he has done.
Yeah.
It felt like we were saying, well, if Pogačar was this, he would have won.
Yeah,
that wasn't what we meant.
No, I agree, JB. And yesterday evening I was thinking, and actually I'll have to talk about today about the same exact thing on La Movida, or Spanish show. Just to make things clear, it's never been our intention to diminish the extraordinary performance of Jonas Vingegaard. He was very, very strong on stage 5 already. He did an amazing time trial, and yesterday he put the nail in the coffin, and Pogačar lost 6 minutes. But I do think, however, that's maybe why we spend a little bit more time on it. A part of the extraordinary winner Felix Gall, the event of yesterday was the breakdown of Tadej Pogačar. That was the event of the stage, and in all that, between the battle for the stage and then the downfall of Pogačar, it kind of was forgotten a little bit that Vingegaard was the only one to go from the favorites, and then he went. Of course, he was the fastest up the climb and basically sealed the deal yesterday. But above all, it's absolutely not the case that we think, or at least I don't think, that Vingegaard will win this tour because Pogačar is getting. I mean, no, he's not going to say he's getting bad. He's still in second, but he's not up to the level that we expected. It is, after all, the second year in a row that Jonas Vingegaard is the strongest, and this victory in that time trial confirms that Jonas Vingegaard is stronger than last year. And I think we said this already from the beginning, that Vingegaard was stronger than last year. And the climbing times confirm that. And obviously, there's more, the team firmly believes in him. He has the experience. He has the confidence now also. He is coming to more maturity. So if we have given the impression that was absolutely not our intention, and I have to say chapeau to how he's dealing with this status of being the favorite. It's well known that last year it was all new for him, but it's quite impressive to see how he's dealing with being the favorite and dealing with the pressure that comes with it. So I hope that with this, I can make it clear that it was absolutely not our intention, but I felt like that was the event of the day yesterday, the downfall of Pogačar, because we've never seen it before.
I'll add to this too. We, all year have been critical of UAE's plan for the season. Mm-hmm. So on the opposite side of that, and this goes back to your strategy as postal director, for Vingegaard, it was a plan for him and the whole season for this one event, which is something that you always did. And that's the reason you were were critical of UAE. So, I think we could easily commend him for that, like having the focus, knowing that this is the most important thing and not chasing down anything else. Is very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, he did on the way. He won a lot of races, but he was not yet at 100%. He won the Dauphiné, he won the Tour of the Basque Country. He won the first race he started in this. I always forget the name. O Gran Camino, I think, in Galicia. It's not just him, it's his whole team. The team Jumbo-Visma, obviously they have really, really thought about this, really planned everything, and there's nothing left to just to improvise. They knew already in December that the time trial, for example, that they were not going to do a bike change. They were just, they have great riders. They have the experience and they're prepared the best, I think. Other teams are also well prepared, but I think Jumbo-Visma just takes it one step further, and they leave nothing to coincidence.
You probably dealt with the same thing as director that first year when Lance won. There were criticisms. Oh, so and so wasn't there. They weren't all there, and you would discredit same exact thing, right?
Same thing. First year, Pantani was not there. Ulrich was not there. First year, then the second year, I don't know if they were both there. I think so. Don't remember now. But anyway, then there was another year that Ulrich again was not there. So it is proper to being in that situation. So it's not going to stop. It's going to keep going.
Yeah.
Once you're there on top, as we said yesterday, now comes the time that he's won twice. Now comes the time that they're going to start to judge him. There's going to come a time that he doesn't win the Tour for one reason or the other. It's going to be seen as a failure.
It's such a tough sport. Mm-hmm. It's tough to get there. It's tough to stay there.
Yeah.
And it's critical. But anyhow, hopefully we got to clear the air a little bit. It is the most amazing performance we've seen since we've been doing the move in JB2, I would say.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That time trial was incredible. I spoke to someone about it today, because there's been comments and people who question the performances, and people just have to, and I think personally what happened in that time trial is, and everybody who has been a cyclist at a certain level knows or has had the experience that sometimes there are days that you say, I am flying. I don't know how I did this, but it's unbelievable. And I think personally that in that time trial, Vingegaard had a day like that. You could clearly see also after the stage, he was surprised. His team was surprised. I've listened to the various team managers, the interviews in Dutch. They were confident, but they didn't expect that kind of performance. And he was racing in a state of grace.
Yeah, as you guys always say, and I don't think we've said it this year, no chain.
Yeah, no, he could do anything. It was unbelievable. He was flying. And, sometimes, very seldom in a career, but you have sometimes 2 or 3 days like this, they can say, wow. Today, there was nobody going to get even close to me.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's no explanation for it. It's just,
everything's hitting.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Now let's actually talk about today's race. And you can shed some light, Johan, on how this breakaway stayed away. It was a bit of a surprise. And, I always think about the phrase you say, you got to have a calculator in your pocket. Because there's, by looking at it, you're like, okay, this peloton's going to catch this breakaway and it's going to be a sprint and it'll probably be Philipsen again.
Yeah. Well, let's start with another event this morning. Wout van Aert not taking the start. We all knew that his wife is about to have their second baby. So personally, I think that after yesterday, with 7 minutes advantage, the team has said, and Wout has said, okay, I think I'm fine. We're fine now. I'm gonna let you guys bring it to Paris, and I'm going home to make sure.
Do you suspect if it was still a tighter race, he would have stayed another day? It seems like my impression is, hey, we've got a nice gap.
I think so.
My work is done. But if it was tighter, he might have reconsidered.
I don't know if the baby is about to be born or if it's going to take. Normally, I heard that his wife was due like a few days after the tour. Normally,
yeah.
Of course, you don't know now in the last few days, but for sure, this 7-minute gap has made it pretty clear that Wout, we don't really need you anymore. Just go home and be with your family.
And all of his hard work did not go unnoticed either.
Oh, I mean, there's certain things that Jumbo-Visma did in this Tour de France. Sometimes we scratched our heads, what are they doing? But you can only do that if you have a guy like Wout van Aert on your team.
Yeah.
But I read some numbers here, and it's been 171 race days for Wout van Aert without a did not finish, without an abandon. 171 race days. That's very, very unique. I mean, if you look at, what do they do? 65 races per year. It's almost 3 years without the DNF.
Yeah, and as
DNF
we know,
does not finish.
yeah. Staying healthy and staying in one piece is a big part of the battle.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm bummed for him that he didn't get a win in this tour. That would have been nice to see, but he's
going to get his biggest win now after the tour, getting his second child.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Anyways, back to the race. Kilometer 0 attack of Kasper Asgreen, first attacker. Two guys join him, Victor Kampenaerts and Jonas Abrahamsen. And, the goal was definitely have more than 3 riders. And so they get a gap. They were kind of pushing it, but not too much, to see if there was more riders coming. But apparently in the peloton, the sprinters team started to pull straight away. Alpecin and Jayco, I think. So, then everybody said, okay, well, you know what, this is going to be a bunch sprint anyway. Let these guys out there, and we're just going to stay here, So if you look during the whole stage, JB, the breakaway has never had more than 1 minute, 11 seconds. The maximum was 1 minute, 11 seconds. 3 guys, you would say, well, 3 guys, let's just give them 3 minutes and 3-4 minutes, and then we pull them back at the end, right? Because normally from the beginning on, there's already some kind of agreement between 2 or 3 teams that say, okay, you know what, we want a bunch sprint, we're going to put 2 or 3 guys there, we're fine, let's just let them ride, So the moment the peloton started to put a tempo, the breakaway, at least as far as I have seen, this is what happened. The breakaway has actually adapted their speed and their advantage to the speed of the peloton. They were not trying to get further away. They were always there. 1 minute, 1 minute 10, 50 seconds, 45 seconds, 1 minute again. So they were actually adapting their speed, those 3 guys, to the speed of the peloton. And the peloton has always been, because you know what, 1 minute, you're getting them. It's like, you can say 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, or maybe, maybe if the breakaway keeps something and they start pushing at the end, maybe we don't have enough to close that last 30, 40 seconds. But 1 minute, that's like, okay, piece of cake. The peloton was never, ever under the impression that they would not catch them. I think that has been the key to their success today, because as we know, they stayed up front. As we see here in the back, we see Kasper Asgreen winning the sprint, and we see Victor Kampenaerts there with the blue helmet getting caught by the first riders of the peloton. So they did an amazing job. On top of that, I think Lotto really played it well by taking advantage of a moment of relax in the peloton to have another guy jump. Pascal Inkhorn jumped across, and then when he was almost there, Kampenaerts dropped back. Both of them went to the front, and that was another fresh guy up there. And let's say that these 3 or ultimately 4 guys were basically riding against 4 other guys, 2 from Alpecin and 2 from Jayco. And then at the end, and let's also not forget, we're stage 18. There's a lot of teams that are not complete anymore. People are tired. Alpecin, they had to at least keep 2 guys on top of Philipsen for the final. So, they can't sacrifice all of these guys, right? And so I think that's what really was the key to their success. First of all, 3 and then ultimately 4 really, really strong riders. I mean, if you see Asgreen, Kampenaerts, and Abrahamsen, and then Eichhorn still in great shape also at the end of this tour, that these guys are going to go for it at the end. That those guys can hammer. And yeah, the peloton just at the end they didn't have the strength anymore. And then on top of that, you had the guys of Soudal Quickstep disturbing the chase, right? They went in between and disturbing. I mean, you're allowed to do that. You just go and sit in second wheel or third wheel, so that the fourth or the fifth guy takes a lot more time to come across and take a pull. So,
yeah, I mean, just those, and you saw Alaphilippe doing it. Those disruptions, they just get to the front, soft pedal a little bit, then pull over. It's just a few seconds here and there where it would have been pulled back.
Yeah, and especially they start to do that when they feel that the guys that are pulling are on the limit, right? So they were already because at the end, the guys in the front went 60. So in the peloton, they had to go 65 per hour. And at this point in the tour, the guys don't have that speed anymore in the legs.
Mm-mm.
They're really good at maintaining a same pace, but that big difference in pace is not there anymore compared to week 1. If this is week 1, it's game over. No chance. But on stage 18, there was a chance. So what a win for Casper Asgreen, especially for Soudal Quickstep. They came into this Tour de France. They lost Fabio Jakobsen. They tried a lot. They were in a lot of breakaways, especially Alaphilippe. And then finally, win a stage. At this point, that's all what's left, winning a stage. And there's so many teams who haven't won a stage that it's like, whew, okay, this at least saves our face. I'm not going to say it saves the tour, but because they probably went for more, but it kind of, then you start to put things in perspective. Okay, these guys have dominated. They have won those stages. There's more than half of the teams that didn't win anything. At least we got something, right?
Today's show is brought to you by OneSkin. I've added this to my daily routine. And as I've told you before, at the urging of my daughter, she's like, Dad, you're always out in the sun and we're always out on the boat, on the lake. And she's like, you're not taking care of yourself. All right. And so I wish someone had had that brutal talk with me 20 years ago. I probably would have aged a lot better. But now I'm using OneSkin, 2 products. One that's just daily all over my face, and then one that really helps with the bags under my eyes. The scientists at OneSkin found the OS01 peptide can reverse the skin's biological age, and it can also reduce a number of zombie cells. They're called senescent cells by up to 50%. And this is what's interesting. They spent 5 years testing almost 1,000 peptides, and they landed on the OS1. And this has been clinically tested and clinically proven to strengthen the skin barrier and significantly decrease visible signs of aging. Give it a try. Add it to your routine. Take care of your skin. If you're listening to this, I know you're probably out in the wind and the sun on your bike a lot, and this will treat your skin so much better. That you can get 15% off with the code JB2, JB squared, at oneskin.co. Again, that's 15% off at oneskin.co with the code JB2. Today's show is also brought to you by Ketone IQ. That's by HVMN. And, you know, all of us here at the We Do crew have been using them. And I started a few months ago as part of my daily routine, taking it every morning. And I can tell you a few things I've noticed. One, I used to be a 4 or 5 cup of coffee drinker. Since I started doing Ketone IQ first thing in the morning, I have a cup of coffee. One. So I'm not having that big bonk. And I've also noticed it out here when we have this heavy load during the Tour de France. We're putting out 4 shows a day. What would typically happen to me, and again, this is our 7th year doing this, we would get done with all the shows. I get back to the house and I would just be bonked. I just wanted to crash so hard. Now I get home, I'm fine. I'm ready to move on, ready to go do some stuff, go for a ride, go downtown, hang out, do whatever I want to do. I don't have that bonk. And I've also shared with you how I just feel in general, how it's helped with clarity, sharpness, just feeling better all around. Try a subscription, give it 3 months or so, and you can get 30% off that first subscription order of Ketone IQ at hvmn.com/themove. Again, 30% off your first subscription order of Ketone IQ at hvmn.com/themove. Last but not least, I want to tell you about our friends at Ventum. I now have had an NS1 for a couple of years, just picked up the GS1 a few months before heading out here to Colorado to do this. I've enjoyed riding both of them for different reasons. And, you know, I know our audience too. You guys like any excuse to add another bicycle to the quiver. If you haven't tried the GS1, you can do it as low as $29.99 with the SRAM Apex AXS. But if you have a personal preference of how you want to build out your bike, you want to upgrade that, you can certainly do that. It's very easy to do online, very easy to go through all the details, pick all the components you want, and enjoy it. And I'll give you another little fun fact here. You know, you hear us joking about Spencer. He's a numbers guy, the propeller head, as we call him. He rides the same size bike as me. Took my GS1 when he was here this past weekend. And he said, hey, I just had my second fastest time up Maroon Bells on your gravel bike, comparing it to all my road bike trips up this very same climb. So take it from him. He's a numbers guy, trust me. And he was really impressed at how well the gravel bike rides on the road as well. So go check it out. Build out your own bike, and you'll get 10% off when you use the code WEDU at checkout. And you can do all that at ventumracing.com/themove. Soudal Quickstep didn't have the normal dominant spring campaign that we've seen. Since we've been doing this show. Yeah. They always dominate the spring. So rough season.
Rough season, rough tour. And then, you know, the irony that their sprinter's gone and they win a sprint stage with a non-sprinter
right.
from a breakaway. So, but that was well deserved, I think. You know, those 4 guys deserve to win the stage. And the fact that none of those teams had won a stage was also contributing to the fact that there was going to be a perfect collaboration, because at this point, JB, even getting second in a stage is important.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's you at least you're there. You know, you're there.
You had some details on one of the guys in the break, Jonas Abrahamsen, a story. Yeah, Abrahamsen, a pretty cool story there. Share that.
Yeah. I had read this before the tour already, but I just looked it up again. So Jonas Abrahamsen, I don't know. I mean, I think he's 25, 26. But anyway, this is a rider in the under 20. I saw some pictures of him in the Tour de l'Avenir, and he was, I think he won he may have won a mountain stage, or he was in the front on a mountain stage. And I've seen this rider in a lot of Belgian races in the lead up to the Tour de France, really doing a lot of work, really strong, pulling a lot for, what was his name? Rasmus Tiller. was the leader in those races, or one of the other guys. But the guy was impressive. Did a lot of work. But you could see really like a strong. Like he looks like a bull on a bike. Now, then I read the story that he made the decision in the last 2 years, 2.5 years. He was weighing 60 kilos. What's that in pounds?
That is 132 pounds.
Okay. So, and he decided that, he was kind of fragile, didn't have enough power to be with the real climbers. And he made the decision, and listen to this. I had to read it twice. He decided voluntarily to gain 20 kilos. That's like 33. If you weigh 60 kilos and you want to gain 20, that's 33% of your body weight. So he got to 80 kilos.
That's adding over 40 pounds.
Yeah.
That's a big difference.
Because he decided, and in his mind, for him, there are better opportunities to be that kind of rider. I mean, he did it over, obviously, very controlled and over a long period of time, not just by eating crap, right? But he thinks that for him, there's more opportunities to be at the service of your team, to be in breakaways, to be a good time trialist, sprint, rather than being light, but not having the necessary talent to be up there with the climber. So his pure power, his max power, went up from 900 watts, weighing 60 kilos, to 1,500 watts, weighing 80 kilos. And he's, I read the story, and he's satisfied. And I mean, the fact that he made the Tour de France team is already an amazing story for a rider like this, because if he weighs 60 kilos, he's maybe not there anymore in stage 18. He would be home already.
Yeah. That's so smart of him to figure out, what is your value, right?
Normally it's the other way around, right? They all want to lose weight, right? They all want to be skinny. This guy is different. I mean, you can look it up. It's all over the internet, the story. And I couldn't believe it. But if you look at the pictures, it is actually a true story. And, stage 18, he's up there for the stage win.
One last thing about today that you noticed, I've always said this on the show, like, Johan's always observing a lot of things that a lot of us don't think about. And you said that it looks like Pogačar was in good spirits, and he's okay with everything going on. And, a lot of us thought he might go home. We speculated he might be sick, but it just, he's just such an easy rider to be a fan of.
Yeah,
his attitude.
Yeah, for sure. And and listen, and in France, JB, he's going to be incredibly popular now. He's second. He's second. He's smiling. He was suffering like a dog yesterday. People are going to love him. That's the French. I mean, already, he's a popular rider, but I could see today that he was, smiling, in good spirits. He's in the race. So yeah, I mean, it's hats off to him to remain upbeat. And you know what? Listen, if they would have told me at some point in my career, "Hey, you're going to be second in the Tour," I said, "Hey, where do I sign this deal?"
Exactly. People would have been hard on him if he went home. Instead of riding into Paris, and he'll be a gentleman all the way and congratulate. You'll probably be the first to congratulate Jonas.
Well, yeah. I mean, today I saw two interviews of both of them, and they're super. These young guys are super nice. They speak highly of each other. They respect each other. It's nice to see. It's nice to see that they are such competitors, such rivals on the road, and we've seen this during the whole tour. Straight after the finish, they're always, because both of them have to go to the podium, they're always cooling down on their home trainer in the same area behind the podium. So they meet each other every day, right after the stage. And there's always straight away congratulations from the one to the other. So yeah, I think they have tremendous respect for each other. So yeah, there's been other. there's been other times in cycling.
I think I mentioned it a week ago on the show. Wouldn't it be something in 25 years, they're meeting up in Mallorca to go ride and hang out. And, just like you and Lance, George, and Jan Ulrich. Jan Ulrich, especially, like, that's cool. Like, that's really cool.
JB, it's for me, and I've said it already on the show. I don't know if we're going to talk about the move Mallorca on another show, but that's just so nice to see, because I've lived that rivalry from inside, and I was part of that rivalry, and it was kind of, the guys didn't really know each other personally, but they, we didn't like Jan. We it's like we didn't know him, but we made sure we didn't like him because it kind of gives you extra fuel, right?
Yeah. And I learned something too. Maybe this is a good time to talk about it because I just before this trip I read the new book about Jan Ulrich, the Daniel Friebe book, which is very good. But I didn't know there was a bit of rivalry with you and a director.
Yeah,
on their team. You guys were like from a village apart.
We lived 300 meters from each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And who was that?
Yeah.
What was his name again?
Rudy Pevenage.
So you guys had your own pissing match too, right?
We raced together. He's older than me. I think he's like 10 years older than me. But I raced with him when he was at the end of his career. But then, as soon as I became a director, we were rivals, and we also did not like each other, not like each other at all.
What about today? Bury the hatchet or no? Still a little tension. Don't be embarrassed. Don't do it. There's about 3 people I will never speak to again in my life. So
no.
I'm not going to judge.
There's no hard feelings at all. We have no contact, no relationship.
Yeah. Not good or bad. But that was an interesting dynamic in that book. I didn't know. That adds a lot.
It does. Yeah.
All right. Now let's talk about tomorrow. I said it on the move. I think tomorrow is today. Let me back up. Today is a very good day to listen to outcomes. You and Spencer are very good when it's the 3rd week of the tour and legs are tired, and riders and teams that are desperate for a win, and who has the talent to do it.
Yeah.
Tomorrow shapes up to be one of those days.
Tomorrow is hard. I mean, if you look at the profile, it's 173 kilometers. There's only 2 categorized climbs, but if you look, it's like a saw. It's like up and down, up and down. It's hard. So if today they couldn't bring it back, tomorrow they're not bringing it back. Tomorrow's a breakaway, and especially stage 19. So many teams who haven't won anything. They know they're not going to win on stage 20. They know they're not going to win on stage 21. Tomorrow is like all or nothing. Desperate attacks coming right, left, and center.
This will be a good, I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, but, Lance said, Soudal Quickstep was the big question mark. They needed a win because they're one of those teams. It's expected. And after they got the win today, he said, that should take care of the teams that you expect to have a stage win. Let me have you expand on that. Do you feel that way, or is there somebody that's sitting there going, well, yeah, they?
Oh, I'm just going to go through the teams here. But from off the top of my mind, I don't know if EF, did they win a stage? I don't think so.
No. A lot of polka dot, but
Groupama, FDG, no stage win. Movistar, no stage win. Astana, no stage win. There's plenty. DSM, no stage win. Bora, no stage win. Arkea, nothing.
Oh, Bora was Hindley. I mixed that one up this morning too.
Was that?
Did Hindley get a stage win?
Oh yeah, he did. Yeah.
I confused. I threw out Bora's name too.
Bora. Yeah. Look how long ago. Nobody remembers.
I know it was a long time ago.
Stage 5.
Yeah. Of those teams,
Inter Marseille no stage win, Jayco Alula no stage win. I mean, it's go on and on and on. So,
yeah.
And then there's other teams that like for Soudal, Lotto no stage win. For a team like Soudal, Quickstep, I mean, they won a stage now, but they're going to want more. they're still going to be aggressive because they also know that it's their last chance tomorrow. So Alaphilippe is going in in the breakaway tomorrow. Somebody else, maybe Asgreen again. But yeah, I mean, obviously, Soudal Quickstep, they always win a stage in the Tour. I think it's the third time they had to wait until stage 18. There was another time when they had to wait stage 18. 1 year they won only one stage and they had to wait until stage 21. They won on the Champs-Élysées.
Well, today is a very good day to sign up for the season pass, get outcomes, and you'll have it through the Tour next year up till this point. So, it's really interesting. I can't wait.
Yeah, and outcomes just for the people who are listening or watching. We don't just predict the Tour de France. We predict the Giro, the Vuelta, all the World Cup races, classics. So it's the whole season.
In those other races, there's more wild cards. The Tour de France is more predictable, correct?
Yeah. I mean, it's especially the difficult stages. It's between the guys who are up there for GC, and then you can see who still has the legs. One day races is different. It's much more unpredictable.
Okay. Before we do our Ventum trivia, and a couple of questions for you, I want you to tell more of the story because you're such a great storyteller. It came up on the show where George shared that he never had a guaranteed spot on the Tour roster. That you would tell him, there's no guarantee, and you would let him know every year if he made the squad or not.
Oh, did he say? And was he surprised about that?
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Like he was like, yeah, I had to earn my spot. Johan would tell me it's like it's not a guarantee you're on this team.
Yeah, well, I don't really remember if I think, it was a way of motivating him.
Mm-hmm.
No, I knew that I would take George. There was a few guys like George Hincapie, Vyacheslav Ekimov, Chechu Rubiera, Pavel Padernos. These guys were like the core. We needed those guys. There was no way they were not going to go if they were in normal shape. I mean, you could also be out of shape or having come back from injury or sickness. But I made sure that these guys were never taking it for granted, because I wanted them to know that there was competition. And that's why there was always 12, 13, 14 candidates for 9 spots. And so I expected, not that they were kind of pushing themselves so far, then come empty to the Tour, but that they needed to show me that I made the right decision. So it was, it was a motivating button that I had just to make say, hey, George, just so you know, there's only one guy that is guaranteed, there is Lance. Everybody else has to earn their spot.
I love it.
It worked because he always showed up in great shape.
And he's still in great shape. So those habits, you've set habits for a lifetime for him. Okay. Your Ventum trivia. This is a chance to win an NS1, the road bike, a complete bike. We will draw it on Sunday. Every day people email in their answers. It puts you in the drawing, and you'll find out. You may win a new bike, and it's a great bike on Sunday. Yesterday's question, just for fun, was who was the first American to win the Tour de France? And that was Greg LeMond. Today's question is, who is this year's youngest rider? All right. And so send in your answer. All right. Go do the research. You can look up all the ages of all the riders on the rosters. Send the answer to trivia@ventumracing.com. All right. And they'll draw from all the correct answers today.
I know who it is.
Can you give us a little hint? Where are they from?
Where I'm from. Where I'm from.
Where are they from? The correct answer.
Where am I?
Oh,
from?
where I'm from. Oh, okay. Okay. Little help, little hint. And again, send it to trivia@ventumracing.com. Good luck. Couple questions for you. Johan, has there ever been a rogue/bandit rider, not an official member of any team, and they tried to sneak into the race in the Tour de France? That's from Scott in North Carolina.
Yeah. Yes, I do. I remember one. I mean, I don't remember the exact stage or the not even the year, but I do remember a mountaintop finish. I don't remember if it's Alps or Pyrenees, and the first riders came in, and then between the first riders and the next riders, all of a sudden there was 3 or 4 riders. You could clearly see they were not cyclists. And they had a yellow jersey, a green jersey, a polka dot, and a white jersey. And they were just got in and crossed the finish line, even raising their hands.
These are just drunk guys having fun, is what it sounds like.
I mean, I don't know if they were drunk. It was obviously, a prank and probably a bet, that they did with each other. But yeah, that happened. The tour was really pissed off, and then one of them even managed to get, like, during the podium ceremony, all of a sudden he climbed on the podium, and I remember Bernard Hinault, who was then working for ASO. Bernard Hinault, 5-time Tour de France winner, amongst other things. He was still with ASO, and he was there always at the podium, and he was known as being like a warrior. The guy was not afraid to get the fists out, and he pushed those guys off the podium.
Of course he did. Yeah, we talked about, just to refresh our listeners' memory, that we talked about Hinault punching a protester in that famous clip.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's one time that I know personally that it happened. And it's probably happened other times.
I bet in the early days there were some people that tried to slide in there, because they would be miles apart from each other.
Yeah, it was completely. I mean, you cannot imagine. Listen, one of the first times the Tour, I don't remember which year, but one of the very first times the Tour de France was organized, the actually guy who won the Tour was the guy who finished 5th.
That was 1904.
The first 4 guys were disqualified because they took the train.
And you know what? That guy that won, some listeners sent some info in on that. I think that was that Henry Pere that we talked about. He also got in a car in that tour, but they only gave him a warning.
Oh, go figure. Hey, so, JB, if the stage is of 400 or 480 kilometers, what would you do?
Yeah.
Let's just get the train for 100 kilometers. We'll
They didn't know what it was. That was only the second year. Okay, here's another really good question here. Johan, what year was the first introduction of the team manager with riders via earpiece in the race? How big was the change that this made to tactics and race results? It must have been a huge change. That's from Eugene in Cape Town.
Yeah. I remember, I mean, it was definitely during my era, because I've known without and with radios. So I would think somewhere around 92, 93, when Motorola came with a system, but it was kind of a test. But I do remember guys like Steve Bauer and Phil Anderson, I think, on Motorola. They had like an earpiece, and they had a little microphone on the handlebars. And obviously, those things were connected because it had to be connected to a battery. So it was kind of very early stages, but they could talk. I was next to one of those riders, and I could hear them speak. They had to go like close to their handlebars and say, okay, this guy and this guy and this guy in the breakaway.
I don't remember it being on the handlebars.
Yeah. And then it evolved towards the helmet first. there were helmets, and I think it was also in collaboration with Motorola. I don't remember. I do remember that on my team in Once, this must have been 94, 95 probably, just after. That there was a system. So the guy, we had two riders. Initially, there was just a few riders, like the road captains, right?
Yeah, they could spread the commands.
That they could peloton. Communicate with, because normally what happened before was that the road captain, you always had a road captain, like an experienced guy, and there was instructions, and then sometimes the guy went back to the car. You had to go back to the car to get instructions, and then get back to the peloton. It's okay, come on, let's go. We need to ride. You also saw a lot bigger gaps before you could get the team together and start riding, because you didn't know who was there. You didn't know if you had to ride or not. So
and you would get the gap updates on a chalkboard on the moto.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. So those systems with the helmets there was a battery in your jersey, and then with some kind of wire it was connected. There was an earpiece, and there was a little mic like this, and you had to push a button at the back of the helmet to speak. And then you could, whenever the director talked, you could always hear, but you had to activate the mic to speak. That was mid-90s, and then 97, 98, I would say, was when the little credit card format radio started, and 99 was my first year with Postal. That was the first. We were the first team that we had the whole team on radios, the entire team, because back then there was already the little radios, but just two per team. That was like the habit. So yeah, 99 was the year that we did it, and then of course in 2000 everybody did it.
Yeah, we even tried it on our amateur team back in Texas, and it was a disaster. It was pointless. And there's no crowd noise when we were doing it. It was just a disaster. It was more trouble than it was worth, but we tried. You want to do what the pros do, right?
Of course.
All right. If you have a question for Johan, just a few days left, send it in to JB2. That's JB2 at wedo.team. All right. We'll talk tomorrow, Johan. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Speak tomorrow.